you know? So you're like, you just in this weird place, but it was a place I lived for a long, long time. And so eventually I got married when I was 25 because I probably was behaving myself at the time for a while. And my ex-wife was, I think, the same type of person, except for I think she kicked the can way down the road a lot of times. I'm pretty sure.
Stomped on it and kept walking.
Yeah.
The line got a little bendy.
Yeah. She erased some lines.
Yeah.
He didn't redrew them. Like, that didn't happen. And that was, I think, like most JW marriages, whether they happen when you're 17 or 25 or 35, 45, I think most of them are just bad. Like, they're built on bad.
Right.
Like, and especially just the dynamic of head of the household, all that bullshit, you know? Like, you know, it ain't a threefold cord that, like, it ain't a foundation, you know? It was doomed. It was doomed from the beginning. I mean, it should have probably just been sorry to anyone else, but it should have been just a hookup.
Yeah.
But because she was a witness and it was the first time, like, oh, there's a witness, I'm like, oh, I gotta marry her.
Yeah.
Which was a mistake.
It happens all the time, though. I mean, yeah, like the threefold cord.
Yeah.
You have to. And then when it doesn't work out, you're like, what did I do wrong? You know? I thought I did everything right. And, well, I don't know.
Yeah.
Just another thing to fuck with your head the whole time.
Now I've learned the threefold cord. The third cord is Tinder. So that's
right. Well, and it was like literally the only thing you had in common with that person at the time.
Yeah.
Because you don't get to know who they actually are because they don't get to be who they actually are as you and I and you guys. But as long as you have that one thing in common, it's supposed to be fine.
Yep.
That's not how it fucking works.
No. And all you're thinking is about one thing. And you know, I started dating in March, I think, of 05. Was engaged, I believe, in July, and I was married by the very beginning of November. So, you know, pretty standard JW
It's a pretty
courtship.
I was like, started dating March 30th, engaged June 30th, married November 30th.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I at least dated for like a year or so, a year and a half. But it's because I was 17. 17, 18.
You guys were young.
Well,
Yeah. Yeah. It's
you also
fucked
weren't
up.
following the rules.
No, we were not following the rules.
It's like, you know,
That's one thing I actually do regret is when we were going to get married in the Kingdom Hall, lying to a certain elder that I considered my second father and saying we didn't do anything.
I was never asked, which was weird because
Did you get married in the hall?
we did not, but
That's why.
my then father-in-law married us. We got married in the Bahamas, and he never asked us. At least I remember, and I'm pretty sure I remember because I'm pretty sure I remember lying. Because afterwards, one of my friends, like, while I'm away on my honeymoon, found a picture because we're stupid.
we always got in
That,
trouble.
like,
too.
he had moved into an apartment and he was doing work in there and he'd found it somehow. And I'm like, what the fuck? So I couldn't explain away what the picture was.
Yeah.
And so, and I felt guilty. So I went and told the elders, but they're like, that they asked me, like, because they wanted to catch you for lying too.
Right.
They're like, did he ask you if you guys had a honorable courtship or something like that? And I said, he never asked me. And he probably got in trouble for not asking because he didn't ask. So, but
Because, yeah, I think whether it's at the Kingdom Hall or not, I think they're supposed to ask, because otherwise, if it is, like, they're not supposed to do it. They're going to be like, well, I'm sorry, I can't marry you.
you got to go to the judicial. You guys should break up.
Yeah, right, yeah.
Yeah, we did too. Like, well, I mean, it was her brother-in-law. So, yeah, no, we definitely were like,
Yeah.
No, I just.
I'm trying to follow that without names. Hold on. Processing. Is her brother-in-law?
Yes.
Okay. Oh yeah. Okay. Mm-hmm.
The only
Friends
one
that
that
live.
talks.
Well,
The other one doesn't even talk really. So.
Yeah.
we reminds me of my close friend growing up. They were they're still married, I think, but they broke up and then went through the whole disfellowshipping, getting back together. Because it was a long process. I was like, damn. And then got married. I was like, how the hell do you?
The ones that like was your best friend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you can't get your privileges back if you keep dating, right? Almost.
I think it doesn't show repentance.
They would-
like you're not serious about the counsel.
Something like that. I don't know. I know for my wedding,
I forgot they
we
got
were.
DF'd.
Yeah, they did. I remember the hall was being remodeled. I can't remember if they must have asked us. Well, we'd already been in trouble. We'd already been privately reproved. So, like, I guess they already knew.
See, and when we
But
brought
then
ours
there's-
up later, they were like, eh. Like they didn't, like years, like 5 years later or something like that.
Yeah,
Then they were like, we don't care.
Some did get this fellowship coming
Yeah.
forward later.
Oh, I was worried we were
Yeah,
going to.
Oh yeah,
Friend of mine, they came forward later and they
That's what
got
I'm
that.
thinking of. I don't know.
because they literally said, "We don't know how you're going to show repentance because what you did, you're supposed to do now." They're like, okay, you know, but
Yeah.
we ended up getting married outside the Kingdom Hall because of remodeling
Mm.
last minute. I remember like
Sure,
older.
that was at it's by the not by the hospital.
Yeah, it's I don't want to say the name.
It's by downtown.
It's kind of a cool place.
Yeah.
Assisted living place now or something.
Is that what it is?
I think it could be more of a nightmare because I remember someone I used to consider a friend. He was one of the friends who was probably was one of the guys that was doing bad things. When I moved up to Minneapolis, he was a friend I could hang around because he was not, holier than thou. But he got into some trouble and all of a sudden he straightened out real straight because he started dating the sister and they decided they would not even kiss until they were married. I think they even really restricted holding hands. Can you, in the real world, can you, at the end of a date, you want to kiss just to see if you have that? Can you imagine the nightmare that you're just brewing?
No, God. Yeah.
You may kiss the bride and they're like,
I don't even know what to do.
really dry lips.
Got massive forearms though.
Well, just one anyway.
Well, you're dominant.
Weird.
Yep.
All right then.
How did you meet your ex-wife?
At a party, drinking.
Because you said you guys hooked up and then
We hooked up while we were dating. But normal stuff. But yeah, it was those fringe witnesses. They're still witnesses. They say they're witnesses, so they're witnesses. So
The ones that have been diffed 3 or 4 times and keep going back.
yeah, and
Or they're just inactive.
one of the guys, he was to each their own, but in the JW, if you're gonna JW, you got a JW right. He was an absolute alcoholic, but he was a ministerial servant. So
well, that's how you do it right.
Yeah, I heard just don't talk about it.
I'd hang around him a lot, and then she happened to be at one of the parties, our houses. We'd hang out all the time, because people would come and go. Went from there. I don't know if it was me being raised the way I was raised, as far as my dysfunctional family, or if it was 25 is still young, but it's not as young as 17, 18, 19, 20, some people, or if it was just never being taught the right way or what it was. You're just not equipped for a relationship of any sort I don't know, growing up in the J-dubs, especially when you're not dating. So like you're not practicing how you should like communicate, like what, like you're just not. So it was, you know, I remember complimenting my parents, always saying, no matter how bad it was, they always stayed married. And that was like, so clearly that was inculcated. Wait, I'll talk.
That's the alarm for when we hear shitty words like that. Keep going up.
I remember that being in my head as if it was a positive. Like they stayed together no matter what, and like they're two. Like I'm glad they were together for the fact that I wouldn't exist. Like I wouldn't be here right now. But they shouldn't have been together. Like,
no.
I feel like my parents were that way too.
Right.
And a CO hooked them up. My mom lived in, I think, Montana at the time, and my dad was like a pig farmer from Minnesota. And he was like, let's put them together. And my mom was a newer witness from what I understand. And it just was like, oh, 2 single witnesses. They should be together. Like, no, like it was saying that a lot. Every time the CEO would come, he would be part of a shepherding visit to us. And my dad's the presiding overseer. How is this like functional? Like, and it would be like, it would give us young kids hope because it's like, maybe there won't be so much, just dysfunction. Like I remember going early teens going, I don't want to be at school and I don't want to be home. Like it was like, because I'm getting bullied at school. When I go home, like things like it was not uncommon. Sorry, Mom. It was not uncommon to be sitting around the dinner table and she'd take a plate of food and just like throw it against the floor and run off. Like, so like that's what you grow up with. Like that's just like outbreaks like that were like normal. So me seeing like, but they stayed together, like as if that was admirable, and it wasn't. And I think that's what led me down like a 12-year shitstorm of a marriage. You know, like just no matter what, we're gonna stay together. You know, like we're gonna figure this out. So, because honestly, even though we should have never been married, we should have been like divorced 2 years in. So, you know, you're supposed to be like, as far as like standard monogamous relationships, you know, you're supposed to be like, it's just you and her. But like 2 years in, like she was unfaithful. And it was like literally a month after my dad died. And she was like, well, you're so distant. I was like, I was just like, but that's where you build back in the guilt though. Because what I had been doing from the time I was 16 to 25, I was like, but I'm not good either. And is it, I don't know how much of Bible scholars you guys are, but like, was it Hosea that was told to stay with his like wife that was like town poor?
Town white.
And they were like, I remember elders saying this to me. I don't know if it was who it was, but like saying like, I think it might have even been my older sister saying something like that. Like it was commendable. Like, but also I felt like if I can forgive her, maybe I'm worthy of forgiveness. And that didn't go well. Cause God, there were some dark times. Shortly after, I mean, like, I was never close to my dad because my dad's kind of like, he might be like on the spectrum or something. Like he was very like, I don't even know who he was, and I grew up with him, kind of thing. But I still didn't get to mourn him. Like, not only the JW stuff where they steal that from you, but like then I'm dealing with that all of a sudden. And there was a couple of particular times, but one in particular that I remember that still like it happened yesterday. That stuck in my brain that like bad stuff could have happened, you know. Sorry, I'm speaking so like. I remember holding a revolver in my hand and just like rolling the wheel, and it was loaded. And thankfully I didn't. Thankfully I was too scared.
Yeah.
But God, that went dark.
Been there, dude. You're not alone.
Right.
There's a reason we got these on our fucking arms, you know.
But you know, I think the truly ominous thing about it is it teaches you how good for nothing you are and how undeserving you are of anything.
It almost happened. Almost face planted. I went to shift and my foot stuck.
Anyway.
No, it teaches you how like good for nothing you are, and you are undeserved, like just basically, you know, like
everything's undeserved kindness.
Yep, you are good for nothing slaves.
Yeah,
good for nothing man, and you are worthy of nothing, and that's if you're a good witness,
right?
And I knew that like I had messed up a lot of times, and if I had just been a normal kid, like I would have thought those were mess ups. Those are just life experiences.
Right.
They weren't bad.
No, not by any means.
But you like have that like debt calculator in your head that says, you start working it out like, okay, if I forgive this, that's got to be at least worth several tokens of forgiveness on myself. So, but once that happened, like, I could no longer, like, in hindsight, I realized, like, it's not about forgiveness. Like, can you still be a good partner? I couldn't. Like, and then it happened again and again. So eventually, like, we separated, and I'd go, well, maybe it was because I wasn't doing family study, because I hated that shit. It was so horrible. It was horrible. Like, it was the dumbest thing ever. When they said, oh, like, it was the beginning of end for me when they said, oh, you can go to the park and talk about Jehovah's creation. And I was like, oh, maybe I can do that. But
I'm not gonna.
Other than that, I was like, maybe it's my fault. Maybe I need to try harder. So, like, you know, we did everything to try, like, all right, you know, therapy and all that, and talking to the brothers, but they don't really tell you a whole lot of like things that will help.
No, nothing, dude. They just fucking stare at you and read scriptures. That's it. I hated that. I hated it so much when you're at your lowest and you need just humans to tell you, like, it's gonna be okay, man, and like, here's my experiences. No, they don't do any of that. They don't get human with you at all. They just fucking machine read the fuck. Oh, this one, I think this scripture has to do with what you're going through.
Yeah.
Like, no, just tell me I'm going to be okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Why is it so hard to do?
What works for you? Oh, nothing. Oh, okay. Just say that. Yeah. Just be honest. Nothing works for you either.
It's just drones.
Yeah.
And you feel bad for them now.
Yeah.
Because they don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, sorry.
No, you're fine. So I picked up some bad habits, like, not like, but I would, after that, like when I was 27, 28 probably, you know, I would go to work, come home, and like mix as many Greyhounds until I was going to go to sleep, like every day.
What's a Greyhound?
Vodka and grapefruit.
Oh.
Yeah, just over and over. They're yummy.
Yeah.
But the thing with grapefruit is you can mix them really fucking strong, because it just no, you'll be sleeping and like, Jesus, I only have two. But but then I was the bad guy because I'm like this, especially in the eyes of the congregation, like I'm just this, I'm barely a witness, you know? And it was a road that I couldn't correct unless I was going to tear the whole thing down. Because it went on like that probably for the rest of the marriage. And it wasn't like I wouldn't consider myself a drunk at all. Because I'd go to work, come home, that's what I did. Or I'd go to the bar and have 6 beers and like, okay, now I can cope. And mostly it was like, oh, I'm not going to be around you. Now I can cope. And that's an understated, I think, destructive trait of the cult that it is the mind fuck that I can do to you. Like, maybe you deserve this. Maybe you didn't work hard enough. Maybe it's because you're not spiritual enough. So, and I kept going the same. I think if I don't know. I don't know if there's one thing you can pin it on, but.
Well, it's like this, like you said, going back to the scripture, the best assurance you can get is probably you might make it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. That's the best assurance you've got in the whole fucking book.
Did you ever try picturing yourself in the paradise?
Just really picture yourself there.
You can see yourself in paradise.
Just really picture it.
So what you're saying is we're all going to hang out with animals, but we're going to have these homes.
Yeah.
But where did the lumber come from? So there's lumber mills. You're saying who works the lumber mills?
We just kept the homes from the dead people.
Oh, okay.
Oh, is that what it is?
It's fine.
And we kept the clothes also because we're all supposed to be wearing button ups tucked into dress pants.
Yeah, some dockers.
Who was working the electrical grid?
Right.
Because we have electricity too, and it's just like dystopia of.
Who's going to keep me from tripping and falling and dying off of a cliff?
You mean tripping all over all the dead bodies?
Oh.
You're saying?
No, we'll grow grass and trees all on top
after we terraform it over it.
Yeah. I used to have an uncle that would get irate if you ever suggested we would have cars in the new system. He would get so mad. One of my uncles. On the Williams side.
Was that before Tesla?
Oldest. Oh, yeah. Well, before Tesla, yeah.
Like, it's going to be electric.
Yeah.
No pollution, Uncle.
It's fine.
Wasn't he kind of a strong personality anyway?
That's a good way of putting it.
If I remember correctly.
Put it this way. I hadn't heard from him in 6 years, and then my grandmother died, and he wanted to contact me. Probably to talk some sense into me or something like that. I can go another 5, 6 years without ever hearing from that guy again. I don't have to hear from that guy again. I couldn't stand him. I'm sorry, dude, if you hear this, but truth hurts.
Just the one that lives in Mankato?
No.
Okay.
No.
That one reminded me.
I was saying, he's okay.
Yeah,
my uncle that passed away. They look a lot alike. And they were kind of still. It was kind of weird.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So we're not going to have cars. That's all I'm saying.
Another little short story as far as just shitty people in the organization. I mostly like to pick on the elders or elders' wives because they seem to be the cream of the crop, rises to the top. But I think after the second known infidelity that my wife had, after the second time, I was definitely not a good husband. So I'm just saying, we just kind of lived separate lives. But I also wasn't betraying her really. But this elder comes up to me, and so it's 2 years after my dad died, and it happened again. And I'm just he comes up to me, everyone's all around, and he goes, "Why are you being so sensitive about this?" And he was an older guy, and I'm not for violence or anything, but I never wanted to punch an old man so bad. I remember contemplating it, and that's just not my nature. But I was so angry at him.
Maybe it happened in their marriage if he was married.
Probably.
Maybe.
Yeah. She was a gem. Whoever, probably. But I was just actually, and at the time it was still when we had district overseers, and we that week we had the visit from the CO and the DO.
Mm-hmm.
And I went, I couldn't keep it to myself. So I went and spoke to one elder that I think still to this day, if you're going to be an elder, he was a good guy. I went to talk to him. He went and talked to the DO, and the DO was like, yeah, that's one of the worst things you can go through. He needs to apologize. And he told the elder to apologize. Of course, he never apologized.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, there was another quick story about elders while I'm on that topic. One of the most, this had to be the most out of body experience I had when it came to dealing with them. There was an elder's wife in the congregation, and she was, I'm not going to even give specifics. I don't want to narrow it down. She had a strange relationship with, she was probably in her like 30s. She had a strange relationship with like someone that at that time was maybe 18, another sister. And most of these things probably would be just fine today, if like whatever. But there were some things, even by my standards now, we're like, this is kind of creepy because y'all have been friends for a little while and I don't know what's been going on. There was weird vibes. And I probably would have left it at that. But for some reason, I let my then mother-in-law and my ex-wife talk me into talking to the elders. Or talking to one of the elders about it. Like, it made me feel uncomfortable. I feel so dumb for having done it. Because I should have seen what was going to happen, right? I'm just some guy. And is an elder's wife.
Yeah.
So I talked to this elder. And I think the next meeting, the elder of that wife comes up to me and says, let's go down into I want to make, there was a part about making peace with your brothers just recently. And he was like, he was using it. Go, let's go downstairs. Let's make peace. I want to make peace. Like, this has nothing to do with you, but like, okay. I went down there with him and two other elders, and it had nothing to do with me because I didn't do it. Right. I was just going, this kind of is concerning. I saw elders fighting and yelling at each other in front of me. And I'm just like, this is like, I feel like this is what I would have seen if I had become a minister or servant, an elder. Like, it was like him going, listen, if my wife needs counsel, I'm going to be able to do it. I don't want anyone else to do it. Like, it was just like, but that was just like, I was like, it was so weird seeing the inside of how the clock worked. It was, I can't express like with words, like just, it was uncomfortable. And it was like, I was down there for like an hour. I wasn't in a judicial committee. I was just down there going, I don't think I should be here anymore, you know?
Yeah.
And that was another, like, something ain't right. There's too many instances where it's not just this hall or it's not just these brothers. Like, these are just people, and several of them are shitty. And, but you keep telling yourself, like, you go talk to someone and say, like, I would talk to my sister and she'd be like, it's a perfect organization run by imperfect men.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's like, no, these are shitty people.
Mm-hmm.
And
you see how human it is.
So human. And things that I wouldn't say if I was in that situation. And these are supposed to be people in power that have control of your lives. So that was some more of the hypocrisy that I saw. I was just like, this is nuts. Like, this ain't right. And I think shortly after that, I moved to Florida. But it definitely opened my eyes to, like, I don't really want anything to do with this. I knew it was the truth, though, which was just a weird place to be. Because You don't think about it. You don't reconcile it. You don't go, but how do they fit together? You just go, it's the truth. I don't want anything to do with it. And so you go on, like, you live your life, and yeah, in this painful, like, purgatory. So
Yeah.
Can you understand that?
Right. Dude. Yeah.
So what caused you to move to Florida?
I hate winter.
What?
No, I was open to the adventure. Like, the recession had just hit, and like the house I had, it was in North Minneapolis, and literally like the day before I fully decided like we need to leave, our neighbor was a dealer, and there was a shooting in front of my house. Like, I come home from work like 3 p.m, sunny out and everything, and my whole block is police taped off. And I'm like, I go to my house. Yeah, go around that way. And there's like, then I see the fire department shows up, and they're hosing blood down the drain. I'm like, we need to go.
Jesus.
We can't. I mean, but I wanted a new start. I was always looking for a new start. Like, and I thought that would be it. I like warm weather. I like tropical. I love palm trees. I love sun. And for that, it was good. But I was still with my ex, so for that part, it wasn't. But I would move back. I mean, Florida's a little weird.
That's an understatement.
It's pretty weird. It might be one of the most like racist places I've ever been. Like, scary. Like, they'll have like this one place lived outside of Orlando, and it was there was a store there, and supposedly it was a like historical monument that store had. It was basically a dummy hanging from a noose, and I'm like, this is a weird place. This is a weird place. And then you'd hear like, yeah, this sister, she was out in service, and she knocked on the wrong door, and now she's disappeared. Evidently that was, and granted, these might be folklore, but supposedly this was true. Yeah, she knocked on a Grand Wizard's house, and like, Jesus Christ, maybe you shouldn't go out in service anymore. Like, this place is nuts. Like, out in the country and in Florida, I mean, that's the deep South. But yeah. And then one day, a person I used to hang out with a lot, I would communicate with him a little bit, and in Minneapolis, and he said, you should come back. He was witness, still is. I think he's in MS now. He said, you should come help me with my business. And it was I was a flooring installer, so that's what I did. So I came back with the hopes and promise that I would be like a business partner eventually, which in the end never actually happened. So I came back and worked on that for like 6 years, but I was probably in that time frame, like I probably went to, like, at that point, if you have 2 meetings a week, in 6 years, I probably went to 100 meetings, maybe. Like, or 6 years, sorry, not 6 weeks. Like, I went to like very few meetings, and then like convention. But so eventually, like, that business, like at the end, because I was like, I'm done with my marriage. I'm getting a divorce. Like, I'm pretty sure because he got newly appointed as a ministerial servant, he was like, I think he was getting some pressure, like, shouldn't probably hang around that guy. So he kind of dissolved the business before I ever became a partner. It all was for naught. Lesson learned. I don't know. But in that process, I kind of was, when I got divorced, I was like, I'm moving on with my life. I still believe in it. I was like,
yeah, you can bring it.
So I started dating, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna date. But I was
within the religion, or
No.
just like
no, I was out, and if I was even in, like, I'm sure, like, it would have been, if it was in the religion, it would have been
good.
Yeah, I had a bad reputation
Yeah.
for at least just being incredibly spiritually weak, like, because I wouldn't go, So, like, yeah, I was done. I was like, I'm gonna die at Armageddon, but I'm gonna live my life at least until then, and that was the plan. So
That's a commitment, honestly.
That was kind of my plan.
Really?
I left, honestly.
I guess, yeah. I suppose I never thought about it, but yeah, if you still believe it, but you don't want to do it anymore.
And I felt better, but there would be moments like all of a sudden it's like you could feel it come on, or if someone was with you, if you were introspective, you could be like, they can see this coming on me, where all of a sudden you'd have these moments of like guilt. You were like, shit, it's showing. My guilt's showing, like, for whatever. And they'd be like, why are you so, like, you look down, or you look depressed, or all of a sudden it's like it hit you heavy. So eventually, probably a year and a half after, if my time is right, deciding, I'm just going to live my life and die at Armageddon because God hates me. It was July 4th, 2019. I think it had a little to do with the holiday, because, like, who you hang out with your family on, like, it's at least with, like, not witnesses, but, like, you see a bunch of people hanging around their family and friends, and I had to work that day. And I was just like, I was feeling more down than usual, and it had been building, and I was like, something's got to give. And I had no idea about a XJW community online at all. I didn't know they existed. Like, I was just like, there's a weird guy in a basement, there's maybe like 25 of them, right?
Look at these guys.
Yeah, like us. No, but like, there's maybe like 25 apostates out there in the world.
Right.
Like, not 25,000, or probably more.
It's like 200,000 on just
Really?
Reddit now, I think.
No, it's on 71.
Wow.
Oh,
71,000.
Samson.
It's just on Reddit.
Yesterday.
That's way off.
Samson.
Anyways.
No.
Yeah.
So, like, I had no idea about that, but I was like, something's got to give, because it was starting to build a heaviness. And I was like, I'm going to look up, like, XJWs, like, just see how they cope with life. Like, I wasn't looking for, like, the truth about the truth. I wasn't looking for, like, any sort of, like, apostate things, but I guess it would have been. But I was like, something's got to give. I got to, like, fix this in my head. So I go to YouTube. Thanks, YouTube. And search it. And the first one that came up, like, I've never seen this person's YouTube after this, but it was like some, like, I grew up JW, I left, now I'm born again Christian, and this is the right way to find Jesus. And I was like, oh, Jesus, this is not what, like, thankfully, because it couldn't have been a big channel, because I've never seen her again. But, like, I don't know why that popped up. It was probably Jehovah trying to lead me back the right way.
Probably.
But thankfully, I was like, okay, you got to look one more time. Yes, that person was a crazy lady. But then I found, at the time, John Cedars, Lloyd Evans.
Yeah.
And I still remember the first video. It was like, why I left Jehovah's Witnesses. And I was like, this guy doesn't seem crazy. And then, the next several months were like a blur. Like, the amount of content I consumed, it was like a full-time job.
Mm-hmm.
4 months. I probably had woken up within like a week, maybe sooner, but you're kind of weeding out all of that shit. And you also want to build like, why do I believe this? I don't want flashbacks. So it was like, I was like, that content was like chemotherapy for my cancer. It was like, I need to get all of this out of me. Like, I don't want a thunderstorm to come up and me also be scared, you know? Like, I need to get all this out of me. So, like, it was like treatment. It was therapy. It was physical therapy for your brain. And if I had dealt with forms of depression my whole life, that moment, 90% of it went away. Maybe 75, 90. Like, it.
Sorry.
It.
Some of the alarms are going off. No, it's okay. I gotta set them off.
It was. It was. Miracle's the wrong word. It was amazing how all of a sudden this weight is gone and everything makes sense. And I was talking to someone recently, like, about how, like, coming out as what my belief structure is, whether not believing in God, all of them, all like 6,000 of them. I don't
disbelieve all of them equally.
I don't discriminate, but I was like, sometimes I'm afraid about speaking out about that because it's a lot of people don't like you, or a lot of people have a visceral reaction to it. But I can defend that point so confidently compared to like being raised and in theocratic ministry school. I couldn't defend that ever. I just felt stupid. Now I'm like, no, it's just you're just defending things that aren't true. And it was just like, oh, this is amazing.
Factual
evidence. I can actually articulate very well why this makes sense if someone's willing to listen. And I don't care if you're not willing to listen. Like, teach them. Like,
you got nothing to prove.
No.
They don't have to agree with you anymore.
Not at all. But it was the most comfortable I've felt in my skin since from that point on. Like, and then I got to start slowly trying to figure out who I was. And it's still an ongoing process. I still don't fully know who I am. I think we go through weird phases too when we leave. Like, we go, let me try everything.
Well, it's that example of that spring, right? You know, the harder you compress that spring, when you let go, the wilder it's going to be.
Isn't that hilarious that they use that as an example, though, too?
Right.
Like, don't they have like a child to talk about children, like releasing the spring slowly so they like in control? Like, if you actually think about the example, it's going, you're basically saying you're restricting them.
Yeah.
And just slowly let the restriction off.
Yeah.
But, and that was a side point about, like, before I moved to Florida, again, bad witness. I just finally, like, let myself go to a martial arts gym, which is a no-no.
Yeah. Violence, bad.
Right. Learn war, bad.
Yeah.
And, associating more and more with worldly people. Sorry. And they were nice. A lot of them were really nice people and personal interest in you. And, like, these weren't like violent thugs. Like, these are just people. And it's a hobby, And that was part of, like, realizing, like, not everything is being painted as it is. And I think that was another thing, just experiencing life. And, like, you don't know what you like until you tried it, That was another nice thing that came from not being a good witness, I guess. I don't know.
A little perspective, Yeah.
I don't know. What do you guys do that, like, you enjoy now that you weren't supposed to? Like, I like
pretty much everything
whatever the fuck you want.
Yeah.
Yeah. Everything I do is probably something that you weren't allowed.
I enjoy scars from time to time. And it's such a silly thing. Like that shouldn't be like a life altering thing. I smoke one every like 2-3 months, but I enjoy it.
Yeah.
But you can lose your family for it.
Right.
You know?
Right.
Martial arts, like I would like, I was asked about it by my then father-in-law. And I was like, oh, it's just, I basically kind of passed it off as like, it's Billy Blanks. It's like
Taibo. Taibo was allowed. I don't know what that was.
It's just
my
kickboxing.
parents used to make me do it with them. We all had family. We didn't have family study, but we had family Taibo.
Jeez.
Yeah, that's weird, isn't it? I never thought
That
about
almost seems culty.
That guy that ran the Taibo looked like a cult leader.
Oh, I bet you could have been,
eyes.
especially at the time.
Weird eyes, dude. Billy something.
Billy Blanks.
Billy Blanks.
Yep.
Yeah. Anyways.
Maybe he's shooting blanks.
Wait, you mean like sperm wise?
Yeah.
Oh,
Not
spermers.
What does that normally
Around here,
refer
we
to?
just call that the Tyler.
Hopefully. I haven't checked yet.
Oh yeah, you gotta finish phys ed.
Still got a
Physical
sample.
therapy. Anyways.
My physical therapy.
But
yeah, I know what you mean, dude. Like that. Oh
Mhm.
my god, to be able to just experience whatever you feel like experiencing without having
You can design
feel
your
bad
own
about
life.
it. Like
Yeah.
and even emotions. I
Yeah.
want to touch on this because like anger and hate were considered absolutely unacceptable ever. Like only Jehovah gets righteous anger. There's nothing wrong with anger. Like it's an emotion. I mean, it's what you do with it, but like sometimes it's completely justified and a useful emotion. Same thing, like hate, maybe like not always, but like there's some people that, you know, deserve my, like maybe don't deserve my time, but like I don't think there's fully anything wrong with like, yeah, I don't like that guy.
right.
You know? At least if there's valid reasons. Like
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
So just being able to actually feel your thoughts and your emotions and not be doing some sort of thought crime because of it.
Yeah, just process them naturally.
There was a quote. I wrote down a couple quotes. One's from a fictitious person. One's from a real person. The first person, fictitious, said, let me see. I'm reading. I didn't remember it. It said, the freedom to make my own mistakes is all I ever wanted. And yes, that was from Game of Thrones.
Like I recognize that.
The king beyond the wall.
Like I know this.
But it's so true.
Yeah. Right.
I should be able to make my own mistakes without having more consequences than just maybe the mistake. And that's important. That's huge. Like, and realizing I'm not a bad person for it. And the other one you probably recognize, some of you might, but one of the reasons why I'm doing this is to say, it says, never be a spectator of unfairness or stupidity. The grave will supply plenty of time for silence. And that's like, we get this one life. Like, I want to be able to, like, what am I saving it for? Like, when I'm standing by, like, stupid things happening and unfairness. And that's what I want to just say to, like, if any, like, JWs watch this, particularly, like, family or friends, people that used to be friends, I wanted to do this. This took a long time. Like, that's why when I did the Shun podcast, I did it under a pseudonym. Like, I wasn't ready then. But I don't want people to, like, I want to set it straight. Like, it took a lot of research and a lot of understanding and a lot of looking things up to realize how much was wrong with that organization, just to start with, you know. And we all know them. Like, we all know them. Like, just Google, I think it was the Irregular Pioneer has on his page. It just says Google JW 1006. And if you Google that, it takes you to the Australian Convention or not convention,
Royal Commission.
Royal Commission.
Yeah.
you know, Google, was it The Guardian, that they were a member of the United Nations.
Yep.
United Nations? Yeah.
UN, yeah.
While we were studying the Revelation book. And I was just like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
I don't know which one was the biggest like card that I pulled out that was House of Cards that just fell down. But Jeffrey Jackson, when he was at the Australian Convention, World Commission, when he said it would be so presumptuous for us to be, I was like, yeah. We grew up. I don't know if you guys grew up the same way, but like we were told basically you being tortured in your life is like predestined. Most likely you're going to be tortured for your faith at some point. And your main job is not to fail Jehovah in that moment.
Yeah.
And that would have been a failure.
Yeah.
And like you'd be doomed. And when I saw that, I was like, this is all bullshit.
Yeah.
Like, you can't even stand up to the authorities. You're not even in the same room. You're on a Zoom call or something. Right. Like, I was just like, and then there's so many other things. Like, I probably have forgotten more than I've learned, but it goes on and on. So it's not because I was tricked or fooled or like under the spell of my father, Satan. We're on a good relationship.
Yeah,
we're fine.
It doesn't trick me.
He knows all my buddies.
No, it's just, I think that's important because that's the first thing you say, oh, you were tricked by apostates. No, who? You know? I was out before I met you guys. You guys didn't trick me. Like, you guys have just been friends, you know? And to have that is important, you know? To have that connection to those that went through a similar traumatic experience, you know? And I'm sure I've skipped over a shit ton of things that like that are part of the trauma. I really wanted to, like, everyone has a rough life, but I really wanted to focus on like the shitty way the organization handles certain things, especially like elders and beyond, like, because that's where a lot of people are getting hurt. It's not, you know, we all have shitty lives, like, we have good parts of our lives. We have shitty parts. Like, no one's special and like has this like, so it's not a woe is me. It's more like, this is how it was handled within the organization. I don't know if I drew a fine enough point on all that or not, but
I don't know. I think you did. I mean, it is just shitty. It's people that shouldn't be in control of the things they're in control of. Nobody should be in control of the things that they're in control of.
Right.
No one should be able to take away your family and all that just because you're like, I'm done. If we could have all unbaptized ourselves and just continued on, I think we all would have done it.
Have an unbaptizing? That would be nice.
Yeah, had they not changed the rules in 81,
that's awesome.
We'd have been able to, you could just walk away and call it cool. Be like,
you could walk like backwards in the pool.
You guys don't keep believing
one of those reverse videos, yeah.
Yeah, I just don't really want to do it anymore.
I think some of like the worst part, like, I don't know, for me was like the negative self-talk that you have for yourself. Like, because I think no matter what, you have that. I think, unless you maybe are a sociopath, but like, because you're always told you're not good enough. So, like, you know when you fucked up, you messed up somewhere, and you're like, especially if you keep account of things, you're just like, you just feel doomed. So, like, when you can remove that, it's like you're a whole different person. You're free.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Here.
And again, to my niece and nephews, if one or all of you or some of you get out, no matter what your parents say, like, I got you, you know?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We got to be there for each other, man.
Yeah.
We have nothing else.
But
we got each other. It's enough. But
anyhow, I did say I was going to have an announcement.
Oh, yes. Oh, now we have Brother Nelson with the announcements.
How did it go? This is to inform the congregation.
Yeah. Yes.
I haven't been a JW in my mind in a long time. And it shifted from me not wanting to be called a JW because I was afraid of bringing a reproach on their name.
Right.
I don't want to be a JW because I don't want that shit on my name. So, like, even though, like, this is a long time coming, but it takes a long time to get there to be brave enough to be able to say that, to know, like, the consequences that are inevitable, maybe that have already happened, and to say, you know what, you can't take anything else away from me. So, Michael Nelson is no longer one of Jehovah's Witnesses.
Oh, yeah.
Cheers.
Cheers.
I am dissociated.
Mm-hmm.
Good work, dude.
Yay.
Fuck yeah. Welcome to the club.
Yeah, welcome to Side Things.
Officially.
And maybe if you get a chance, you could play that clip.
Yeah.
I really like this
I
clip.
was actually going to try to pull it up on there, and everything is going slow. So,
Otherwise, I can play the thing.
Yeah, I got it right here.
There's a little video we're gonna play.
So like we probably
Michael
won't
asked.
see it, we'll hear it. But
Yeah.
so
For those that want to have like that are like they're just looking for that little bit of courage.
So would you like to ask people what advice would you give to those that are thinking about leaving and those that have left? And I feel like this kind of covers it.
Yeah.
A lot of ways, this clip, I think, if I remember correctly.
Just
Go ahead.
In his book Paper Towns, it says, "It is so hard to leave until you leave. And then it is the easiest goddamn thing in the world." And that's right on the money. Right? Being on the edge of that cliff, it is terror, sheer terror. It is so hard to make that jump. And then you do, and it's like life opens up.
Yep.
Right.
there it is.
Yeah.
It's true.
You know, it is like, it does become kind of like the easiest thing you did, but it's still hard to. I don't want to understate that. It still sucks day to day, but
Of course.
I don't think it's a decision you'll ever regret.
No.
You know?
No.
Ever.
I can't imagine being someone that I'll go back for.
Oof.
And people that do, that's okay too. But like going back for my family, because I'm going to just be me. I'm going to be authentic. You know, I'm not a real person if I'm back there in that.
Right.
Right.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
So
What's the point of existing if you can't just be you?
yeah. No.
You know?
That's
It's a different
depressing as
kind of
hell.
hard after
Yeah.
you leave. It's a different kind of hard.
I remember being like 15, 16, like have a little girlfriend that I'm not supposed to have, but I'm like, we can never have like I have to stop this within like a couple weeks because eventually she's gonna want to like come over and hang out. And she can't. And then I remember those thoughts coming into my head going, if I leave, I lose everything. Even then, or going, what if it's not the truth? What if I waste my entire life? It's crazy. And then you just shelf those things for decades.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It gets easier though on the other side.
Oh, yeah.
You definitely have some existential dread.
Yeah.
You go through some crazy thought process, but parts of it are kind of fun. There's some really bad parts, but parts of it, like clearing your brain out of all that tripe, is nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Amen.
Right.
What else you got?
Just looking forward to the future. I wish I was 20 years younger doing this now, but I'm not. So looking for the future.
Never
like,
too late, man.
Like,
Betty White almost made it to 100. You haven't even lived half your life yet.
I'll have to analyze how she lives because I don't know if we're living the same life.
Yeah, probably not. She
I think
probably
he's
doing a
doing
lot
something
more
right.
cocaine.
Yeah.
I could see that.
That's the secret.
Mhm.
Well,
You know,
glad you could come.
thank you. for
Glad we
having me.
finally got
Grateful to have you,
Yeah.
dude.
it. One more in the books.
Yeah.
So
Welcome to the family.
Yeah.
We're all a bunch of misfits.
So you're fucking stuck now, bud. You know?
Yep.
well, that's episode 8. Finding Paradise. Michael, thank you.
Thank you very
Everybody,
much.
thanks
One
for
more
being with us.
round.
One more.
Yeah.
Take
The
care, guys.
family.
Yeah. I'll be a drink.
See ya.
Damn, dude. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.